Hockey fans, brace yourselves. The winds of change are blowing through Toronto. In a decision that is sending ripples across the NHL, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment has officially announced it will not renew the contract of the team's longtime president and alternate governor, Brendan Shanahan. After 11 years at the helm, and following yet another frustrating post-season exit, the Shanahan era has come to a close. But what led to this stunning announcement? What does this mean for the future of the Maple Leafs, one of the league's most legendary organizations? And where does Shanahan go from here? Today, we break down the story behind the headlines, share exclusive insights, and reflect on the legacy of a hockey icon who tried to bring the Stanley Cup back to Toronto. The playoff collapse that changed everything. To truly grasp the magnitude of this move, look no further than the Leafs' most recent playoff disappointment. After jumping out to a commanding 2-0 lead in their second-round series against the Florida Panthers, Toronto faltered, dropping 4 straight games and yet again finding themselves on the wrong end of a handshake line. For a city that lives and breathes hockey, and for a franchise that hasn't lifted the Stanley Cup since 1967, patience is running thinner than the Toronto ice in springtime. While Shanahan orchestrated an era of regular season consistency unseen in decades, success in the playoffs proved a bridge too far. Shanahan's arrival and the Shana Plan, a new hope for Leafs Nation. When Brendan Shanahan took the reins before the 2014-15 season, he brought an identity, a vision, and a championship pedigree. His plan was nothing short of a cultural overhaul, restructuring hockey operations, modernizing scouting and player development, and infusing the organization with values worthy of its heritage. Consistent playoff berths under his watch, the Leafs reached the postseason 9 years in a row. Playoff frustration. Despite assembling a roster flush with young stars and high-priced talent, Toronto won only 2 playoff rounds in that entire stretch. And while regular season wins are nice, in Toronto, legends are made in the spring. Shanahan's tenure reignited hope, but ultimately ran into the same old ghosts that have haunted this famous hockey market for generations. The official word, gratitude and a call for change, announcing the decision. MLSE President and CEO Keith Pelly was both gracious and direct, praising Shanahan for his contributions while signaling a shift in direction. Over the past 11 seasons, Brendan Shanahan has made countless contributions to the Toronto Maple Leafs on the ice, off the ice, and in the community, Pelly said. Brendan is one of the most respected leaders in the game, and he has instilled many of the traits that were the signature of his Hall of Fame career throughout the organization, uniting this storied franchise in the honor, pride, and courage that it was founded on. And then, the pivotal line that will echo in front offices across hockey. A new voice is needed to take the team to the next level. With those words, the Shanahan era ended, not with outrage or controversy, but with a professional, respectful call for a fresh perspective as the Leafs look to take that elusive next step. In Shanahan's farewell, reflection, regret, and respect, in his own public statement, Brendan Shanahan's emotions were palpable. A Toronto native and lifelong Leafs fan, Shanahan expressed deep appreciation for his time leading the blue and white. Toronto is where I was born and raised, where my family still lives, and being a part of this historic franchise will always be one of the greatest honors of my life. He thanked the staff, calling them second to none in the National Hockey League. He lauded the club's alumni, the very heroes of his childhood, for their support and efforts in the Toronto community. Leaf fans received a heartfelt nod for their unwavering passion and loyalty, the kind that never wavers despite decades of hardship. And when reflecting on his core mission, Shanahan was unsparing in his self-assessment. While I am proud of the rebuild we embarked on starting in 2014, ultimately, I came here to help win the Stanley Cup, and we did not. There is nothing more I wanted to deliver to our fans, and my biggest regret is that we could not finish the job. It was a rare blend of dignity, pride, and candor, one that underscores just how personal this journey has been for him. He rode ahead, Toronto's search for a new architect. So what comes next for the Leafs and their passionate supporters? This transition marks a clear inflection point. The team is built to win now, boasting a core of Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and John Tavares. The expectation is not just to make the playoffs, but to win everything. Leadership void. The incoming president will need to make critical decisions on coaching, free agency, trades, and locker room chemistry, without the cushion of a rebuilding phase. Pressure. Cooker. With a fan base as hungry as any in sports, patience will be minimal. The next president must mold this group into one capable of slaying playoff demons. And finally, delivering a Stanley Cup. Balancing legacy and innovation. The challenge will be preserving the honorable culture Shanahan rebuilt, while injecting new urgency, creativity, and perhaps a willingness to take the kind of bold risks that turn contenders into champions. Meanwhile, for Shanahan, reports suggest his hockey journey is far from over. MLSE, in a sign of respect, has granted the New York Islanders permission to speak to him about a possible leadership role, indicating Shanahan's impact and reputation remains sky-high across the NHL. What's your verdict on the Shanahan era? This is more than a changing of the guard. It's a defining fork in the road for one of hockey's most historic organizations. Will this bold step catapult Toronto to long-awaited greatness, or will it usher in more uncertainty and transition? Now, as always, the heartbeat of Leafs Nation matters most. Let's keep the conversation going. Drop your thoughts below. Was this the right time for a new direction? How will you remember the Shanahan era? And what kind of leader do the Leafs need to finally conquer hockey's biggest stage? If you appreciated this in-depth coverage and want to stay on top of every twist in the Maple Leafs story, hit that like button, and let's keep this community vibrant and informed. Stay tuned for more as the journey toward the cup presses on, one bold move at a time.